What's 9 divided by 17? Okay, patch 0.529. Okay, I actually meant point 17. Okay, this is a tiny, tiny, tiny patch. Let's see what Hannah Shoy Shouju Woo has cooked up for us this week. Aurelian. Now let's read the preamble. Hey, buff herders. What does that mean? We're still holding on. We're still holding off on going too crazy with balance changes until after 9.19, the patch that Worlds will be played on. But we do have some bigger adjustments to Aurelian, Soul, and Kayle this patch. Mainly, we're helping them in the respective spaces they're weak in that make them difficult to be seen as viable or reliable picks. Overall, Aurelian Soul should now be more comprehensible, with more satisfying signs of successful play, and Kayle should have more of a laning phase without feeling like a complete wet noodle. Aurelian. We're making Aurelian Soul more vulnerable to counterplay in the early game so that we have room to buff his scaling and presence in the late game. His adjusted W should also help make him a more approachable champion to those new to him. Okay, whatever. Passive, the ratio is switched to flat, and ability inhibiting crowd control no longer nullifies center of the universe. Okay, that's an interesting change. I'm fine with that though. Uh, movement speed 20%. If Aurelian Soul is faster than his star, the star will speed up to keep up with him. That's good. Let it rip. When Aurelian Soul pushes his star to the outer limit, they will gain increased damage and rotate at a higher but decaying speed after 3 seconds, or if Aurelian Soul reactivates it early. The stars will retract and grant Aurelian Soul 40% movement speed. That's a pretty big move speed buff. Over 1.5 seconds. Scroll down to 2 seconds. Guess we'll see. It doesn't have a cost to remain active anymore. Just when you cast it. Okay. We'll see. Mana regen. Oh, that's what he needed. I haven't seen a Gallia. I've played how many games of ranked this season so far? Like 500 or so? Yeah, that would put me at 457. And I haven't seen Gallia one time. Which is pretty sad because he's a cool character. Winds of War, damage or cooldown reduced early, and the shield minimum damage is up 10, up 30 at max rank, and the maximum damage is up 90 at max rank. Alright, he's gonna need a little more than that in my opinion. These Callista numbers changing are kind of interesting too. Like Callista's always been a pain in the ass for them to scale or like get in a right spot. So we'll see how this is. These numbers don't really mean a lot though. Like plus 2 AD and a little bit of mana, and the mana growth is probably the biggest thing, so she can farm a little bit easier, but these are pretty insignificant changes. I actually started playing Kayle recently, so these are kind of interesting to me. The way that Kayle worked, if you didn't play her, I always thought that she got like a big AoE thing every time that she used her E. Like that's how old Kayle used to work, right? Like you toggled on your E and then your range got increased for duration, and all of those did like splash damage. It's not how it works. On current Kayle, current Kayle's E is just it gives her one ranged auto, and then when you do the level ups from 6, 11, and 16, you would get the range increase just as your basic auto attacks and stuff. She felt really good once you got to that point, but yeah, her laning phase was pretty ridiculous if you got behind. But, you know, she still won games. She was still a positive win rate character. Uh, yeah, she's first place win rate past 30 minutes. So that's why you would play her. I don't know. I think that she had a role, and if you were good enough to make her not suck during laning too, like if you were uh, comfortable taking people out with kind of a limited kit. She was one of the only characters that's like still a early game uh, total wimp. Because there are so many characters that used to be early game total wimps that actually have like a ton of early and mid game power now. Like Vayne's a good example of that. Remember when picking Vayne was like suicide? Vayne is so good. And she still has this like little hump here during early, but then she scales up to be incredibly good. But still, like, you can get bullied in lane by a Vayne, which is pretty nuts, though. There just aren't a lot of characters that aren't, that suffer really badly in early game. Which is okay, I guess, but if that was Kayle's identity, it's kind of sad. There are a ton of other characters, like, remember when playing against Riven, she would, like, kill people at level 1? Never happens anymore. Tryndamere as well. If you play Trynd, it's like, look at that win rate by duration. If you play Trynd, unless they're really stupid, you never kill anybody at level 1 anymore. Well, that's just side note. So they screwed with how the Ascension part works. Uh, Exalted. What does Exalted mean? Transcendent attack range. When Kayle is in her transcendent form, she gains an additional 50 attack range for a total of 575 attack range on basic attacks. So transcendent happens now. Arisen at 6, Aflame at 11. Where does transcendent happen now? Is that still 16? Kayle ascends to her a flame form at 6 and arisen at 11 to a risen form at 6 and a flame form at 11. That's... Guys, that's the same thing. Guys. I guess the proofreader probably didn't catch that, but I'm thinking what they mean is that you hit transcendent form at you know, it's scaled back 1. So instead of having to hit 16, you only have to hit 11. Cast delay, cast time, blah blah blah, missile speed, 15% of the... This really was not that great of an ability anyway. On hit ratio, slightly higher ability power, 5%, and missing health scaled back. Whatever. I think that they should have made it so that she could still attack under Divine Judgment. That's kind of weird. That she's one of the only characters that does this kind of weird self-silence thing when casting on herself. Leona, cooldown to 5 seconds. Damn, dude. That was already a pain in the butt. These are pretty insignificant changes too. I feel like they could give him more. I would increase damage on Q so that he can... It's more rewarding to poke with it. When disguised, Nico can now select herself to deactivate her disguise. Sure. Pantheon. I feel like this kind of flopped. Like, after the hotfix, he was better. I think that it's cool that he still takes, like, no damage, basically, if he uses E on turrets. So he can, like, play riskier, dude. Take turret aggro and take no damage. It's like, it is a lot like Braum Shield, but, you know, he just does the huge damage reduction. Thrusting Spear, releasing the ability early, now also increases the physical damage on targets below 25% of their maximum health. Okay, so he gets to execute. And monster damage reduction. We're following up by entirely removing the monster damage penalty on his E, since it appears we were being too cautious regarding his jungle prowess. That's fine. Also, E did, like, no damage, so I don't think that he needed that badly. Kiana got a 40-second debuff to her ult, which is pretty good. One thing I wish that they would do this for Kiana too, since she's new and like learning the range of the wall thing is kind of weird. I wish that they would make the indicator when she's ulting the wall and you know that you're in the zone wider so that you actually stand outside of it, because it's slightly larger. Well, everything in League is slightly larger than the hitbox most of the time, like than the visual most of the time, I mean. But Kiana's is additionally annoying because you think that you're outside of it, but you still get hit. She's kind of turning into the new character to hate, which is okay. I think that she can still be shut down pretty bad. And she's risky. Her ult is super, super good, though. And if you play against a guy that knows what he's doing, it's like horrifying. Whatever. Rise gets 4 magic resist, whatever. Strangle Thorns goes down by 40 mana at max rank, and the cooldown is reduced. I think that Zyra was really strong though too. You played her with Dark Harvest. No, nobody does that. I think that Dark Harvest was really good on her. Dude, why does Chrome do this lag? Check this out. Dude, why? What are you doing? I'm not even listening to Maroon 5, She Will Be Loved. And it's hitting me with 3 gigs of memory usage here, and then another 4 gigs there, so 7.5, basically 8 gigs. And it's using like all of my fucking processor. Holy moly. Whatever. That's basically the patch. It's just a little boy. Rek'Sai no longer gains a short can't be displaced buff after her target dies as she starts R. Cleanse now properly clears the stun from Victor's Augment Implosion W gravity field. Dash speed is now at the proper speed, not as slow as it was in 9.16. Static Shiv no longer hits nearby targets outside of Mordekaiser's R death realm. That's funny. The unit's HP can now properly go below 1 HP. That's funny too. Whatever. Kind of a meh patch. No real changes. We'll see how it goes.